Okay, so welcome to our chat about water for schools. Just a little housekeeping. This chat is being recorded. You are welcome to ask questions during the chat, either by interrupting me or by typing something into the chat feature in Zoom, and we'll answer you right away. We're a small group, so feel free to ask any questions you like. As always, our chats can be found on our webpage, friendlywater.org/events. And you can contact me at any time about anything. I'm Will at friendlywater.org. Our mission, Friendly Water for the World, trains and equips communities in sustainable village scale technologies to safeguard, conserve, and expand essential resources. That mission is fairly, well, the wording for it is fairly new since about March or April, and I've almost got it memorized now, so that's very handy. And our vision is people able to live healthy lives and free to plan for the future. And all of our work is tested against this mission and vision to ensure it's exactly what we should be doing. Who are we? Well, we provide expertise in sustainable technologies and programs. We build knowledge and resilience with communities. We're all about partnership. We activate community engagement. So there's a lot of our work is interacting with communities, having meetings with communities, learning about the culture of communities. We embrace the dignity, strengths, and rights of all living beings, and we always seek to empower people worldwide. We've got great folks on this call, and so many of our members are from all around the world. So what I'm here to talk to you today is our newest program in Kenya. It is a water security program, and it is going to provide over 1 million liters of water security. This is one of the schools that we have already taken a survey of and met the school officials, and we will be building tanks at these schools. So the program is, and I've set this up on the slide to try and emphasize some things. So we'll be using local Mason and support teams. We always try and use local to site, construct, and maintain. And that maintain word is very important. I'll be talking about that later on in the presentation. To maintain 50 25,000 liter curved brick rainwater catchment tanks, to provide over 1 million liters of water security at Matsakha schools, a clinic, and a market. So this is a huge program. It's one of the largest programs we've ever done, and certainly the largest water security program that we've ever done. So to talk about how we get to a program like this and how the program actually works, it's useful to talk about and just remind everybody about our community investment process. And these are the steps that both predate the program and then move the program forward, where we survey folks in the community. We then engage those folks in the community. That's typically through a multi-day engagement event. We then excuse me, go out. We then plan with folks, and sorry about that, we plan with folks in the community for the upcoming program. We train, typically we train a local group in putting that program together and the technology for that program, and then we scale. And SCALE is an acronym for start, communicate, assess, learn, and encourage. And those are the steps that we do once the program is off and running. We have, and I'll talk about this more in a second, we've got some programs that were created before the water security program that we are launching. And we are in the scale phase of those programs right now. And they are, scale doesn't necessarily mean grow. Scale is more about right sizing. So making sure that the program meets the needs and desires of that particular community. And so we started our work with Matsakha. Principally, once we did the survey, we did this community engagement event where we met with the 10 different villages of Matsakha, and there were representatives from every village. And the village deputy chief was there, and other officials were there. And this is a 3-day event where we got to share what we do well. We got to learn all about the strengths and capacities and abilities of this amazing community and determine how we could both best work together and what that would look like over time. So, what were their immediate desires? What were they hoping to do later on? And build a plan to schedule out our programs with the community. So the Matsakha build, and that's what we call all of our programs where we put them together with a community as a build. And our Matsakha build is started with good hygiene and then building better, which was currently our brick making program. And now we're working on water security. We have 4 more programs scheduled with our Matsakha build and the Matsakha community. And most importantly, with the Matsakha Youth Development Group, which is the local organization that was put together following our community engagement. And they have been working with us step by step in all of the programs so far. Our Good Hygiene program, like I mentioned, was launched in January. We trained the community in soap making. The MYDG sourced their soap supplies from Nairobi. We have a chemical engineer who is part of our partner, TCSC. He helped put together a soap mixture that was most appropriate for Matsakha and for that community. And the MYDG was trained in how to make soap, and they have a production team and a marketing team. And so far, they've actually sold over 5,000 liters, actually, probably close to 6,000 liters so far. And they have recently acquired new, more professional bottles and new labels. And I was just on a call with the team today, and it's a fantastic group. There's about a dozen people who are part of the group, and they are enthusiastic and really moving forward with this program. And as part of the program, and one of the really key outputs of the program so far, is that the soap was recently certified by the Kenyan government. It received the KEBS certification, and that is going to enable them to sell the soap in stores and through a much wider area of the community. So that's a huge outcome for the program, and the not only did we receive the certification, but officials came and met with MYDG and presented them with a certification. It helped gain more publicity for the soap, and and some follow-up conversations about how to actually make the soap and the work better with the local government. So the local government now is engaged in helping that team move this program forward, which is just fantastic. The second program, as we saw earlier, is Building Better. And so the team has been making bricks. Again, this is the same members of MYDG. They were trained by Eric and Makiga, which is the company that makes the brick making machine you see right there in the green. And they have been making bricks for about 2 months now. They've fabricated a little over 11,000 curved bricks, which you see in the right there in the picture. The great thing about these machines is these bricks are being made on site. So in the background there on the left, you'll notice that's the school. That's where the rainwater catchment tanks are going to go. So we can make the bricks at the school. They are stored at the school, and then they'll be able to be used for a rainwater catchment tank at that school. So this is really an integrated way of building these programs. They're not created one program at a time. There's always some integration between the programs. This one in particular, actually, we realized it would be advantageous for the team to have two curved brick making machines. And we had a second one available at our build in Kambiri, which was fairly close by. So Eric was able to swap out a straight one that they had with the curved one. And so now they've been able to double their output, thanks to having two machines on hand and have two teams working at the same time. So that machine, that program is making all the bricks that are required for our new rainwater catchment tanks. And that's what these tanks look like. We have previously made ferro cement tanks, and we still have the ability to do that, but we recognize that making them out of these curved, interlocking stabilized soiled bricks had a couple of huge benefits. One is we could better control some of the raw materials. Another is this is income that goes right into the community. So folks making the bricks, that's income from the brick making itself that goes right into the community as well. So it's a twofer. The teams get to both make the bricks and make the tanks. And these bricks make tanks that are just as strong as, if not stronger than, ferrocement tanks. And if you've been part of any of our brick making conversations before, you'll both see and know that these bricks don't require any mortar between them. And as far as the building of the actual tank goes, they only require the tanks themselves, for added strength, only require strengthening on the inside and the outside of the tanks, not between the actual bricks. So they go up very quickly, and these tanks can hold 25,000 liters of water. They cost about $1,600 to make. $600 of that is labor. So that is money that is being paid to the laborers that goes right into the community and stays in the community. And that's versus $3,200 for a similarly sized plastic tank. And those plastic tanks not only cost more, but they certainly do not last the 30 years that these rainwater catchment tanks are capable of lasting. So these are the tanks that we will be using. Not only do they cost less and last longer and provide income for the laborers in the community, but we also have recently had them certified. The engineering designs for these tanks have been stamped and approved by local departments in the community: the Department of Works, the Department of Fiscal Planning, and the Department of Health. So three local government agencies have are in the process of approving the plans for these tanks that we will be building at all of the schools in Matsakha. It's really exciting.
Mhm.
So the combination of the successes of the first two programs, building the team together with the good hygiene, creating the bricks through the building better, and then the new tank design that we created initially in Kambiri, have those three programs have come together to create the water security program in Matsakha. And it's probably important to talk about why this is necessary. One of the reasons is, and this is a picture actually of an existing tank at a school in Kambiri, excuse me, in Matsakha. And it looks fine, except it is leaking and the tap is broken. And if you'll notice from the sign on the tank, right in the middle of the tank right there, this is a tank that was put in by another group some time ago. Of the schools we have surveyed so far, most of them have a technology that was installed by another team. All of these technologies have failed. None of the other teams have fixed them. And that is a problem that is almost omnipresent in Africa is organizations that come in, they identify what they consider to be a problem, they fix it, and they move on. And there's no maintenance, there's no warranty on any of this work. No one's trained to fix it, and they do not have long-term relationships built with these communities in order to make sure that the problems they're solving stay solved. And that's something we are doing differently.
Mhm.
The other problem, and you'll notice this queue of kids right here, is as you would expect, most of these schools they are acquiring their water from sources that are frequently not at the school, so kids have to leave, and when they do leave, the water is brought back in because it has to be carried, it's brought back in small amounts, which means kids have to queue up to use the water. So not only do kids lose school and class time having to collect the water, and it's usually put on the children, but then they lose school and class time having to use the water. And so these are two of the huge problems and challenges that we are looking to solve and will solve with this water security program. So the program in a nutshell is 15 locations were chosen. That includes the schools, the clinic, and a marketplace. Um, each school is going to receive 3 tanks, the clinic 2 and the marketplace 5. And this construction should take approximately 2 years time at its current size. So the steps in the program, the first step is surveying the sites of the program, and that's what we are engaged in right now. So we have local teams who are actually going to the schools. They have a survey that they are sharing with the school officials. They're meeting with the school officials. That's in that survey, they record the population of the school, if they have any existing technologies, what their needs are for the water, what the school officials believe will be the benefits for the water. They then look at the buildings and take measurements of the buildings, take measurements of the roof, um, and then identify the best sites around the school, around the buildings for the tanks. And so we have that that data then is sent to us, and then we are able to capture it and store it and compare it against other schools, which both makes our processes more efficient. That's one of the benefits for doing 13 schools at a time, is it can be a much more efficient process than doing a single school and then another single school and then another single school. And this is a much better way to learn how to make it the best process possible, and also share best practices between each school. If you know that something is working well in one school, then replicating it in the next one and the next one and the next one. It's a really efficient way to make a successful program. So following the site survey being done by our partners, we will then be training Matsakha Masons. So these, again, will be members of MYDG. They will be trained as they already have in the site selection, and then all the elements of actually building the tanks, and then treating water down the line, maintenance and repairs, general plumbing, and then how to market these. And I'll talk about a few of these things here in a minute. So that's a critical part of our program, is that local people, local folks on these teams will be building these tanks after after building almost 50 tanks, well, building 50 tanks. Everyone there is going to have a lot of skill in building rainwater catchment tanks. We hope to have multiple teams trained, because we believe in this program. We think this is a fantastic program, and we hope to replicate it There are a lot more than just 13 schools in Kakamega County where Masaha is located. So hopefully we'll be able to grow this program and replicate it far and wide in this county, and we'll have the teams of local masons to do that. After training, the teams will then move forward to build the tanks. The bricks, as I mentioned, are in the process of being fabricated and stored at the schools. The surveys are being done, and then we'll move forward with actually clearing the sites and constructing the tanks. We'll obviously need gutters. And then one fun part of this is we expect the tanks to be decorated. Hopefully, the school kids at the schools will be able to share in that process, and that's a great way to engage the school and the children, and also hopefully a great way to get word out about our work and our organization, and for other folks to learn about the technologies we have and the programs we have. And then following the build, and this is, at least in my opinion, the most important part of our work is sustaining this program. So there are lots of elements that go into this. Once that tank is built, there's the first fill of the tank. That's the first runoff from the roofs into the tanks. You have to make sure that works right and that that flush is done properly. There's the cleanliness of the water, ensuring that the water that is in the tank is as clean as possible. We intend to have some kind of warranty, and we intend to have some kind of maintenance plan. So that's a way for us and our partners to continue to maintain a relationship with these schools and continue to ensure that these tanks are working 2, 5, 10 years later, because we know the schools aren't going away. These are almost all public schools. They've all been in existence for years. They're going to continue to be in existence, and the students will continue to need this water. So we need to make sure that those tanks are solid and continue to work flawlessly. And then hopefully there's an opportunity for us, like I mentioned, to expand the program and begin offering this to other schools. So, and also connecting our solutions together at the schools, whether it's a rainwater catchment tank through water security, or maybe it's a clean water program through filters or sanitation, being able to connect all these programs together at one school so that the students have everything they need to be healthy and successful at that school. And finally, this is a picture actually of one of the schools. This is Masaha Secondary. Um, this in talking about the benefits of this program, in addition to what I've already talked about, that is actually a one continuous building you see in the picture right there. That's 128 feet long. It's one of that so far three schools that have roofs that are at least that long, and you can imagine how much water that roof is capable of capturing. One of the benefits I haven't mentioned so far is by using the runoff from these roofs and rainwater catchment tanks, they're not using groundwater. And so it's
Mm.
helping refill those local aquifers. It means that the water sources, those water points, those borehole wells aren't used as frequently, which also potentially means the area around them stays cleaner, and that water at those points also has an opportunity to be more clean. So that's another great benefit from this program.
Oh gosh.
And then finally, this another picture from the secondary school there. Um, One of the things that's great about the surveys that we've done is hearing from school officials of all the different benefits they expect for their students, whether it's water for labs and classrooms, water for cooking. A lot of the schools have gardens where they grow food in those gardens, so water can be used for this small lot farming, less time out of class, as I'd already mentioned, and a cleaner school as well, because hopefully this will provide enough extra water for them to do things that they didn't even have an opportunity to do before. And then I think one of the most interesting and maybe most important is students who can be more focused on just being at school and enjoying their time at school and enjoying their time in class, or not enjoying their time in class. I wasn't the best student, so I totally understand that too. But just being able to be present in school and not having the stress of having to leave school and find water and get that water back and get it set up, and that's a lot for any student to have to manage. So that's a huge advantage to this program. So that's it for the presentation of the program. I'm happy to answer any questions any folks have. Any takers? Did I do just that good a job explaining everything? All right. We're very excited about this program. As I mentioned, we definitely hope it is one that we can replicate to other groups of schools. We have a great set of partners on the ground. Both TCSC or Transforming Communities for Social Change, and MYDG, the Matsakha-based partner. We have multiple meetings with them monthly. And obviously we also have Eric, who is on the ground not far away. So he's able to, out of our Kakamega Build Center, he's able to check on the community, answer any questions, help the training, swap out technology if it's necessary. So having this kind of tight geography around the work we're doing has really enabled us to focus and scale in a completely different way than we have before. So does my team have anything they want? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are the bricks fired, and how is the water treated?
Yes, the bricks are not fired. The bricks are an interlocking stabilized soil brick. So it is made with it's made with a brick press. And so it's a mixture of soil, a touch of water, and a stabilizer like cement. And the bricks are pressed and left out to cure. Usually the curing takes 3 to 4 weeks. And then the bricks that are produced are actually as strong or stronger than fired bricks. They are far more uniform, and they're a much better looking brick as well, actually, and far better to use for these particular tanks and application. The water, we do not at this moment. So we have a clean water program using filters. That is actually one of the programs in the list of programs that we'll be implementing with the Matsakha team. So that's a little further down the list. Actually, maybe the next one. I forget the exact list right now. And so we'll be addressing that once that program launches. Kurt, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think they actually asked for safe cooking next, but then it's going to be the clean water. Clean water right now, we're probably going to be providing that with Aqua Clara filters, which it's an organization that works in Kenya. They are using a filter that was designed by Cost, which are the same people that designed the original biosand filter. This seems to have a higher adoption rate, and it lasts just as long as you provide the regular maintenance. And so the water would be coming out of our 25,000 liter tanks and be going through one of these filters. And we could buy, there's school size filters and there's also home size filters. Storage capacity being different between, I think, 10 liters at the smallest, and the school size is a 40 liter capacity. And it processes very quickly as well. I think it's doing a little over a liter per minute. which makes it something that you can fill up in the morning and have it ready an hour later, and then fill it up in the afternoon and have it ready an hour later. So yeah, that's we always want to make sure, as Will was saying earlier, that all of our programs are interconnected in one way or the other. And sometimes it's just a matter of rolling it out until we get to that connection. Yeah, every rainwater catchment tank goes with a clean water filter in the way that we're envisioning our work. And just one other thing too, I was looking at that one building you were showing, which was 40 meters long, at least. I think you said 130 feet, so 40 meters. And if you look at the width of that, you can assume that it's probably at least 8 to 10 meters wide, thereby giving you a square meters of 400. And if the average rainfall there is on the very low side, 50 inches, which is low. So we're going to go with that number, which is around 1,200 millimeters. That would be providing, you can get 500,000 liters of water off of that roof per year. And our 3 tanks would only be utilizing 75,000 liters of that. So you can see what the potential is for doing rainwater collection effectively in an area that's only getting, say, 50 inches or 1,200 millimeters of rain annually.
Are the tanks covered?
Yes.
I'm curious more about the filters. Is this like a commercial product, or is it more closer to biosands idea?
Well, it's either biosand or the other filter can both be commercialized. It's a thin film filter though, as opposed to the biological mechanical filter that the biosand is. It's a much simpler mechanical filter. So you have a cone that is your filter layers that can be then taken out regularly and backwashed and then reinserted, thereby extending the life of the filter.
Mhm.
And do you know what micron particles that the filter will exclude?
It's the same as the biosand filter. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I think we were down around 2 or 3.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Good. Very interesting.
No,
I
I don't.
use a water catchment system myself in Hawaii, so that's why I'm curious about some of the technical questions.
Who I can't see. I'm sorry. I can't. No name shows up. Just your phone number. Who do we have the privilege of chatting with?
Oh, it's Keith Barton.
Keith Barton. Thanks. Well, thanks for the questions, Keith. Those are great questions.
Hi, Keith.
Okay. Hi.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I don't know if you can see me. I apologize. I came in late, so you may have covered this. Have you been having variation in rain? I mean, everything I read about here is we're either having drought or we're having floods. But what's happening over there?
Yes, that is more true in some places than others, but generally true everywhere. And it's not just the variation in timing, it's also the variation in amount.
Mhm.
So some places just get considerably more rain in much shorter periods of time than they're used to. And obviously that affects not only their water supply and the ability for aquifers to hold water, but also obviously their crops
Yeah.
and their ability to
Mhm.
to feed the populations. That's probably, and Kurt can correct me if I'm wrong, that's probably more true with our work in Zambia, than our work in Kenya, but it's certainly true everywhere.
I'm familiar with a program on the coast of Kenya, and what the director there says is this year there was so little rain that their first planting of crops died, and I haven't heard yet. They were hoping to replant, and I haven't heard if that was successful or not.
Mm.
Yeah, we hear a lot about, as Will was saying, the deluge
Yeah.
rather than the steady rain. And fortunately for the rainwater catchment tank, we don't care. It catches it if it comes in slow, it catches it if it comes in fast. But you can see the problems of when you have, this is the American Southwest, where you would have these flash floods because the ground was too dry to accept the water. And so now we're hearing more and more about flooding, and which is problematic. And this kind of goes to other technologies of ours and other programs of ours, like our sanitation, because a lot of folks are still using either open defecation or they're using pit latrines. Well, when a river of water comes through your pit latrine, it ends up covering your village in a thin film of human waste, and a week later you have cholera. So these are some of these just ongoing impacts that they're not immediate, they're not first level or second level, they're like third level impacts that you get from this weather change. So we're actually trying to think ahead of it, and do things to mitigate taking the last bit of groundwater out of the ground, because climate change won't reverse itself unless you reforest. And the first step in having reforesting is having a healthy watershed, which means that you're not taking down all your trees to burn bricks. You're not cutting down all your trees to fuel your stoves. And it becomes this cycle, and we're trying to get into that cycle at a good break point, which is collecting water that's not in the ground. And I think it's kind of a win-win-win situation for us, because you get to store water, you get to restore the watershed simultaneously, and then at the same time you're not engaging in any harmful practices to create this technology. And then I guess the fourth win is you're pumping a lot of money into the community as well. So it seems to be a good point for us to find a partnership that we can insert ourselves into. And we're very fortunate to have our friends in Matsakha welcoming us in such a fine manner.
So in Maharashtra, India, first they had drought and it killed the first crop of the year. And now they have gigantic floods that are, moving people out of their homes, which is not necessarily a bad thing, given that because of the drought, they didn't have anything to eat. And you see these patterns. I watch India very carefully, and India is a big place with different patterns. But the general pattern is when the rains come, they come in a shorter period of time, hence more flooding, and the space between the floods means more drought. So you're getting both. You're getting both.
Any other questions? Thank you for that. That was great. Any other questions or comments or?
And you help with planting the trees.
Yeah, we don't actually go out and help them plant any trees, but we help them grow the trees by not cutting them down to make the bricks, and by not chopping them up to fuel their stoves, and by not taking all the water out of the ground that is necessary for those trees to grow. So there are so many things that have to be done to heal this world. And you try to find those items that have the most corollary effects attached to it, so that you can do as much work at once. We're all here for it's a one lap race we're on, and the goal is to how much can you accomplish in the time that we're here on the planet. And I think that the rainwater catchment tank really allows us to accomplish a number of necessary corrections at the same time. So it's a very efficient means of creating a social, a health, and an economic benefit simultaneously.
Mm.
Well, I don't have a question, but I have a huge thank you to Friendly Water for your tenacity and keeping with this and for so long and making this all happen. And I learn so much every time I come to one of your meetings. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to follow along with some of what you've accomplished and be able to, when we get our early childhood center made, that we will have the ability to put in a tank. We already make bricks for building with the Matsakha brick making, and they're very capable people. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to use your technology and your information that you've already gained to make this happen. So thank you so much.
Where are you working?
Rhonda,
Okay.
right out of Kigali.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's Pygmy Survival Alliance group.
Oh, right. Right.
Shuffling songs by Ken on Amazon Music. You can always ask questions like, what song is this?
Well, thank you.
me.
Yeah, thank you, Barely. That's great. Yeah, and in any way that we can be of assistance. I just fielded an email today and yesterday actually for someone in Botswana who had heard about our work and our expertise with bricks and wanted some information. So however we can help any our friends and partners, we'd love to. So
Thank you.
Should
Okay.
we email you? What's the best way to contact you?
absolutely, you can always email me for anything. I'm will@friendlywater.org, and then any of my peers are available, and they're just their first names at friendlywater.org. So Kurt or Eric or David, you can reach any of us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mm.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope you're as excited as we are for this program. We will be updating you really frequently. It's great to be off the ground. COVID is continue. We know in America and in other countries, it's certainly continuing to be a very difficult thing to deal with, especially with the Delta variant. In places like Kenya, their communities are still periodically shutting down, which is inhibited, but not in any way stopped our work. And we continue to move forward, and we're very grateful to our partners on the ground there, because we know life can be very difficult for them without COVID. And so having COVID as well certainly amplifies their struggles. And so we are hoping to support them every way we can. So thank you all for helping to support us, to support them.
Right. Will, I wanted to add that this program is made possible by an anonymous couple who donated. The program total cost is $75,000, and they donated 44,000 of it. And so we've already started, but we will be needing to raise the rest. So if you've got any extra pennies in your pocket, as I say, each liter of capacity costs 7 cents. So I know you can all afford 7 cents.
What is that in New Zealand cents, David?
Yes.
Oh, we have Elizabeth and Stephanie. You know, they can tell us that.
Yes, I mean, we will provide our usual funding, but Elizabeth is going to walk a marathon and encourage people to provide funding for you.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Only half marathon.
That will come through
Half
PTSD
marathon.
as well.
Yeah.
Elizabeth,
Elizabeth, that encourages me to take a nap.
Oh, well, if you walk, you'll enjoy the nap more.
Oh.
All right. right. Well, thank you, David, for that. That's very obviously an incredibly important part of this. So
Mm.
please give us your 7 cents and any other cents that you have available. And thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next month.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.